The first morning, she walked right in, backpack bouncing, a quick wave over her shoulder, and the door closed behind her. You stood on the sidewalk drinking a cup of coffee that was actually still hot, feeling a deep sense of relief. Maybe this whole preschool thing was going to be easier than everyone warned you about. Now it is Tuesday of week 2. You are kneeling on the linoleum floor of the preschool hallway, and your kid is wrapped around your leg in pure survival mode. She is sobbing into your jeans, screaming the word that wrecks every parent on earth. Mama. The question lighting up in your tired brain is, why is this getting worse? Day 1 was fine. You instantly assume you made a mistake. You start wondering if you picked the wrong school, went back to work too early, or ruined her routine. This shift in behavior is a sign of a brain that has finally caught up with its environment.
To see why drop-off has become harder this week, we have to look at the hidden mechanics behind those tears. Think about what actually happened on day 1. Your kid walked into a brand new building full of strangers, smelling like crayons and bleach. She didn't know you were going to leave, and she didn't know this was going to happen again tomorrow. Day 1 was a blank slate of innocence. But sometime around the start of week 2, she mapped the route. The car turning down the street, the smell of the hallway, the bright sign at the door. Psychologists call this anticipatory anxiety. Her brain learns the sensory cues and starts to worry before the actual scary part begins. The exact development making drop-off harder is the same development you've spent 3 years cheering on: memory, sequence, and object permanence. Anticipating a negative event before it happens requires a child to hold the world in her head when the world isn't right in front of her face. That is complex pattern recognition. The child at the door has become a pattern recognizer, successfully connecting the sensory dots of her environment. That is the cognitive piece, but there is also a biological reality to this panic. Back in 2004, a researcher named Ahnert tracked 70 toddlers through their transition into daycare. Researchers used saliva swabs to measure cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. In the first hour after the parent left, cortisol levels were 75 to 100% higher than at home. Their little bodies were having a real, measurable biological stress response. When your child melts down at the door, her body is in a state of genuine physical alarm. But the study had a massive paradox. The toddlers who had the warmest, most secure attachments to their parents at home were actually the ones who cried the most during drop-off. This quadrant chart plots out the 2 groups of children to reveal the second half of that paradox. The securely attached kids fussed the loudest, but their actual internal cortisol levels were lower than the quiet kids. They stressed the least. The loud crying is a healthy biological protest. It proves the child feels secure enough to safely express the full weight of their loss to the person they trust the most. Knowing the biology is comforting, but it doesn't make the physical act of standing on the wrong side of a closed door any easier. And because it is so hard, well-meaning parents often adopt exit strategies that inadvertently create more anxiety. The most common one is the sneak out. The teacher distracts your kid with a tray of Play-Doh. She looks the other way, and you tiptoe backward out of the room to avoid the tears. The sneak out feels kind in the moment, but the psychological fallout is immediate. It teaches your child that her safe person can vanish without warning. The next morning, she arrives in a state of hypervigilance, watching the doorway because she refuses to let you disappear again. The clinically recommended alternative is a quick, consistent goodbye ritual. Pick something that takes exactly 10 to 15 seconds, like a specific high five or 3 kisses on the head, ending with one final action. Pair that physical ritual with 2 sentences. First, establish the permanent bond. I always come back. Second, give her a toddler-friendly time marker. See you after snack. And then comes the hardest instruction of all. You hand her over to the teacher, you complete the ritual, you say the phrase, and you walk out the door in plain sight. You do this even if she is actively crying. Walking away predictably while a child cries preserves the bond. It demonstrates that the world is reliable and that you are someone who does exactly what you say you will do.